have a full-time job as a consultant, and I still do this voluntary work once a month in career ministry. If you want to receive the presentation in a text form of the slides, I'm going to pass this around, and you can print, please, your name and your email address. Please use caps. An L looks like a 1 if they're not in caps. And every time I give this presentation at CNM, somebody doesn't get it because they never listen to the instructions. So let's get started. It's a proactive approach to your job search. Okay. Here we go. What's a marketing plan? It's based on the 4 P's of marketing. Who here has ever had marketing classes? Yeah? Okay. So every corporation, when they launch a product, think about the ad you see on television. They're targeted to specific customer segments, and they do a lot of research to define what their product is and who their buyers are going to be. This marketing plan is based on that. Why should you have one? How do you use it in your job search? How does it differ from a resume? There's only one thing in common between a marketing plan and a resume. And then I'm going to go over a summary and sample review. If you want to receive the materials, you'll get the presentation plus the electronic form of the workbook that we developed as a companion to this. And the workbook takes you step by step of developing your marketing plan. It has tips and resources sprinkled throughout the workbook. So I recommend that you email me. I shred the registration form after I send it out and wait for the bounce backs, the emails I didn't understand. So, and I'll give you the Word template, and also probably because I'm including the workbook, it'll probably be 2 emails. And if you don't receive it, look in your spam box, spam folder. The other thing is Phil's presentation on information interviewing, and I'll explain later why that's so important. So we start with the definition. What is marketing? It's communicating offerings that have value for customers. Who here has ever done sales? Okay, everyone raise your hands, because as a job searcher, you're in sales. You're in marketing and sales. You're marketing yourself, and you're selling yourself to prospective employers. So what do we mean by a proactive approach? It's a self-assessment guide, what I call deep navel gazing. You have to understand who you are and what skills you bring to the table and how you measure up against your competition out there with other job seekers. It's a market analysis. Once you figure out who you are and what you offer and what you want to do, then you have to assess, well, who's hiring your skills? Who out there wants one of me? And how do I appear, not appear, but how do I present myself so that I'm unique and I stand out from other job candidates with similar background and experience? It's a plan for execution. Once you fill out your marketing plan, you've done the analysis, you know who's hiring your skills, then you share your plan when you're networking, when you're having coffee with people and doing information interviewing. And that's the document to share. So it communicates your value and helps others help you. That'll become clear as we go through it. Okay, sounds good. What really goes in it? Anyone here ever received assistance from an outplacement firm? Your company gave you this package that was Lee Harrison or Wright Associates or whatever. They all have a variation of a marketing plan. They all have the same essential elements. A professional objective, very short and sweet. Preferred titles that you are seeking. Please remember that the financial crisis wiped out whole layers of middle management. So if you were a director before, you may be a manager or senior manager now. And the size of the organization makes a difference too, and the type of organizations. I don't know if this is still true, but banks used to hand out VP titles like water. And a director in a small organization may be equivalent to a senior manager or a manager in a very large organization. What you want to focus on is the breadth of responsibility, how many people you're going to manage, and if you have P&L responsibility if you're in a private corporation. So those are the things to focus on, not so much the title. A positioning statement. Your statement of your brand, your unique value proposition. How do you differentiate yourself from others with the same background and experience? The core competencies you offer, and the geographic and company demographic preferences that you have, and a list of target firms. So once you have all this put together in your plan, it makes it very easy for someone to help you. A marketing plan is easily digestible. It's a thumbnail sketch of you. It's easily digestible by the person who's reading it in 60 to 90 seconds. A resume, think about it, is very dense. It has your SAR stories, your situation, action, result. It's very dense. It's very hard to interpret and understand in a short amount of time. That's where the marketing plan comes in when you're networking. So, what if you don't have one? Well, if you build a plan, you plan to fail. And my favorite corollary quote is from the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So the marketing plan helps you focus and get a direction and then execute. So what are the 4 pieces of marketing that I talked about? Product. What are you selling? That's you. You're the product. Price. How much are we selling it for? So what's a reasonable salary? What's a competitive salary out there in the marketplace? Place. Where and how will we sell it? Where are you marketing yourself? Where are you showing up to network and find out opportunities? And then the last, promotion. All of your marketing materials must have the same theme of your unique value proposition and what you want to do. Your LinkedIn profile, your resume, your marketing plan, your tell me about yourself short response in an interview. All of that has to have the same theme. Please, I want this to be interactive, so if you have questions, please raise your hand and ask. Any questions so far? Yes?
What if you're applying for jobs like in an industry that really doesn't have like a special source of networking? I guess you just network everywhere, or?
Can you give me an example? What is your industry or profession?
Yeah, higher education.
Higher education. Well, there are some, I know that there's some publications by the, what is it called? There's an organization of higher education. So you could Google higher education associations and you'll find it. You probably want to network like crazy. And I would contact LinkedIn. I'll show you, a lot of people just use LinkedIn for connecting with other people. Its real power is its database. And being able to search in the database on keywords and finding people of in the same profession or industry, and then connecting with them and doing information interviews, either remotely or in person. So that's what I would recommend you're doing. So your strategy has all of these elements to it. So let's translate those 4 Ps for your job search. What are your skills? Your self-assessment. What value do you bring to the table? What attributes do you have? What problems have you solved for previous employers? Remember, if it's on the screen, you'll get the text version of the presentation. So if you're going to take notes, I would recommend you take notes on things that aren't on the screen, so that you don't have to worry about taking down everything. What can they always expect from you? What's your unique value proposition, and what can an employer always expect from you to deliver? So one of the things that I recommend you do is to talk to former colleagues and ask them, what was I the go-to person for you? Because one of the things that we tend to do is our strengths that come easily to us, we don't tend to value because they come so easily to us. We're like, well, it comes so easily. I mean, it can't be that big a deal, and everybody's got it, right? No. So ask your former colleagues, what was I the go-to person for? What could you always count on from me? You may be surprised at what they're going to say, because it's things you take for granted. It comes to you like breathing. and so therefore you don't think much of it. So it's a really good source. Ask your friends as well. My friends always count on me to organize things. I've done project management, I've done operations, so they always count on me to organize things. I also love to cook, so I usually cater. So who's buying? So you figured out who you are, what value you have. By the way, there's a great book out there called Strength Finders 2.0. You can get it from Amazon. I think it's around $20, maybe a little less, a little bit more. I haven't looked at its price recently. And each one comes with its unique code in a center little envelope that you tear the edges around, and it's an online assessment. It gives you your 5 greatest strengths, and there are phrases and information in there, a lot about your soft skills and how you approach situations that may be really useful for you. So I recommend it, yes.
Did you say Strength Finders?
Strength Finders 2.0. It was developed actually by the Gallup poll, the Gallup organization, and it's really useful. So look at yourself. Go back to every job you've ever had. Think about the things you couldn't wait to get to the office to do. Think about the things you didn't like to do, put them in a separate column. Think about all the successes, what you achieved in each job. Think about it in terms of volunteer activities and non-paid work. Analyze every single opportunity you've had and think about what were your motivations in that job. What did you love doing? What were your achievements? Do a very deep dive on yourself to figure out who you are and what you want to do and what you don't want to do in your next job, because you want to play to your strengths. Is this making sense? People just focus on the resume and a couple accomplishments. They don't really think about all of their skills and everything they bring. Yes?
I have a question about this exercise and specifically this issue of things that you really like, things that you didn't, that you really did not like. Okay. And then, so after you've spoken with a lot of people, talked about jobs in industries that you're interested in, you may have an idea of what kinds of skills and attributes are sought after.
Right.
So what?
How do you translate that into
Well,
a job?
no. What I mean is when you're doing your self-evaluation, you come up with something that's kind of neither fish nor fowl. You know that if I put this over here and I play up this item that I'm really kind of neutral on, it really isn't something that I'm very excited about. It's also not something that's horrible for me. But if you play that up, that's not. I mean,
I wouldn't play it up.
it could be valuable, but it's also not really what you're into. It's
Then
not
I-
something you're objecting to.
Then I wouldn't include it in what your skill set and what you really want to do.
Okay.
Every job has aspects that isn't your top thing,
Right.
and that comes with the job, but you want to minimize that. You want to make that the least important things about the job. And sometimes you have to make compromises because of the opportunity and the other skills you're going to get from that opportunity.
Mhm.
So it's always balancing and personal decisions about it. There's no panacea, there's no perfect way to just find the perfect job.
Mhm.
So it's always about balancing, trading off, and depending upon your personal situation, what kind of runway you have in terms of finances, how soon you have to get your position and get income coming in, all of this come to bear on it. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Anything else? So you've done this deep dive on yourself. You've done your deep navel gazing. You've talked to your friends. You've analyzed all your previous jobs. You know now what you have to offer and the kind of position that you're going to go after. So who's buying you? How do you find that out? Networking. This is where you mine that database. That's part of LinkedIn. You do keyword searches. You find other people with similar skills and experience, and you look at their profile. Likely every past employer on the profile is potentially a target company for you. When you look at that company and then do research on that company to vet it and see if it really is true for you. But that's how you find out other target companies, and then you network, and then you check their website, and you research them and find out, are they hiring? Is this a good time to approach them? And you try and find one contacting them in that company. That's your main job as a job searcher. So who's buying? You have to know your value. Who here has had a screen interview, telephone screening interview, and one of the first questions they ask is, what salary are you looking for? Has anyone had that experience? Okay. Difficult to answer, right? Everyone says don't give a number. Some people say don't give a range, because they're always going to choose the lower end. I have a suggested response. Once you've done all the research for someone of your level of skills and experience, and you've looked on salary.com and other places, and you've asked in networking, what is pay, what's the salary for this level of experience in this field, you'll have an idea of the salary range. You can respond by saying, based on my research of salaries in the marketplace, what I found is that the salary range is between X and Y. Is the position you're seeking to fill in that range? They can say yes or no. If they say no, can you tell me more about the position? First, you want to qualify. Are they looking for somebody of your level of skills and experience? Because a lot of job descriptions are kind of vague, so you don't know if they're looking for somebody junior, mid-level, or senior. So you want to establish that first. So if they're looking for somebody junior and we all have lots of experience, then it's probably not the right opportunity. And you ask them for other opportunities within their organization, or they know that's coming up that would be more suitable for you. But once you've verified that they're looking for somebody with your salary, with your experience level, then they can tell you if they're hiring in that salary range or not. And then you can decide on how to or not continue the conversation. But you based it on market research, not your own personal needs. And hopefully your personal needs match that salary range. So, yes.
Could you just repeat that phrase?
Yes. Based on the research I've done for the salary range out in the marketplace, I understand it's between X and Y. Are you hiring in that salary range for this position? And that shows the interviewer that you've done your homework, that you're aware of what's out there, and helps present you as a more knowledgeable candidate. So where are you going to network? Well, I know Shira Harrington has spoken here. She talks about lanes and tribes. Tribes are industry. Lane is a profession like finance or marketing or sales or project management or whatever. So some industries really want somebody with that industry knowledge. For example, the satellite industry. For example, healthcare, which I don't understand exactly or some of the positions. But anyway, they do have a bias towards people who have healthcare experience. If you're in HR, some companies or industries may want particular specific knowledge, but generally HR people or compensation and benefits, they can go across industries. Finance, typically, except some specialized kind of industries. So know your lane or your tribe, and go out and network with those people. If you're in project management, go to the PMI, Project Management Institute meetings. If you're in software development, look on Meetup for Agile and Scrum groups to go to. If you're in the satellite industry, look for the SSI, Society of Satellite Professionals or something like that. So find your birds of a feather, whether it's a lane or a tribe. That is the most rich area for you to network. So let me give you an example. When I was doing process improvement, I went to the local chapter for American Society of Quality and their special interest group for Lean Six Sigma. Met a person there, talked to her. She was just leaving a job. She said, "You sound perfect to take the job that I'm just leaving. Are you interested? Will you send me your resume?" I said, "Absolutely." I had a job offer in less than 3 weeks. An interview in 10 days, and a job offer. Because I went to my birds of a feather to network with them. Lots of opportunities to meet up. Most of them are free, some we paid a few bucks for. I wanted to get back into business analysis for software development. So I started studying Scrum and Agile groups. Found out that I really needed some kind of certification. So I did a certification for Certified Scrum Product Owner. And that on my resume got my foot in the door and helped me get the consulting gig that I've got now and have had since 2016. So those are the kind of opportunities. Generic networking is always good. And to be able to describe yourself, in a few words and what you're looking for, your elevator speech. By the way, I would recommend an elevator speech that isn't a spiel that just throws a bunch of information at someone, but is sort of a teaser that invites someone to ask more questions about you and to start a conversation. So networking, figure out the right networking opportunities for yourself. Generic's always good, and networking with job seekers is really good. One of the best things I did was join a group of job seekers. We met every Friday at the Panera Bread at Tyson's Corner, and then we started meeting by Skype because some were coming far and decided that it was really difficult for them. We had an agenda every single meeting that we decided on at the end of the previous meeting. We practiced answers to the top interview questions. We reviewed each other's LinkedIn profile. We told each other about job fairs and other opportunities we found. We practiced our elevator pitch. We did all of that. Sometimes we had to have a little bit of time at the beginning to complain and kvetch about bad experiences that we were having, but we always got off of that and into the meat of the meeting every week. It's critical to be able to practice those things so that they roll off their tongue and sound not practiced, but real and thoughtful. And doing that with other people and getting constructive feedback is a really good way of doing that. So I recommend that highly. You have to communicate your value, which is what I've been talking about. You have to be able to talk about yourself in a way that starts a conversation. So you've done your self-assessment and your market analysis. You know who's out there, and that's an evolving process. So you identify target organizations, like I said, from LinkedIn, from networking. Yes, you can use job boards for this, but job boards is not your most effective way to use your time. More on that in a few minutes. You research the companies to determine fit. So you've got a target list of companies, but you research them, you network, you try and find somebody, particularly who used to work there, because former employees tend to be much more candid about their former employers than current employees. So you research them, find out if the demographic fits. The last company where I was a W-2 at, I was about 15 years older than the median age of the folks in that company. The conversation around the coffee urn, I did not participate in much because I didn't do gaming. I wasn't in their age group. I didn't have their interest. I didn't have kids. There were all those, I made it work, but it was a challenge. And it's really important to find a place that values the more experienced worker and isn't filled with people who have only been out in the workplace for 2 to 8, 10 years.
I have a comment on that.
Yes.
I know that in some of my, and that can be very difficult.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of jobs where I've been the older one there, and I found it was kind of useful to be the listener in the
Yes.
sounding board, and so they found you as kind of like a bigger sister or mom.
Right.
Where they can come talk to, and so that way I ended up getting along with a lot of younger people that I might not have before because I don't have similar interests by being the go-to person for problems and I mean,
Right.
as long as they're not terrible.
And I bet that you develop that relationship by listening and being asked rather than offering.
Right.
Because when you offer, then you come across as, you know, know-it-all or, you know, I'm the senior person, so I've got to tell you how it is kind of thing.
Right. You're
So-
just kind and they come.
So you're kind, and if you just listen, then they'll come to you. But not if you offer and ask. Exactly, exactly. That's true. So once you find out the companies and you yes,
I was going to say, you can always find something in common, like
You can always find
invite
something,
them
yeah.
over for dinner.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they'll love eating your food, so.
right, or going out to
So-
lunch and bonding over, you know, food or kind of thing. But socializing with folks that are younger and they have families, they have kids, they have, you know, ball games, they have, you know, that's tougher to do. So it's usually over lunch is what I've found. So you're going to develop at least one contact at each of your target companies who will be able to walk your resume or email your resume to the hiring manager or tell you that there's an internal candidate that's really aligned, and so it's going to be hard to get considered. That's the value of the contact within the company, is that kind of information. At Career Network Ministry, once a quarter, there's a recruiters panel, and the range that I have heard of the percentage of new hires that have been referred internally ranges from 30 to 60%. A lot of companies offer hiring bonuses or referral bonuses to their employees, particularly in high tech. It's not so much in other industries, granted. But they value the referral from the internal employee. They found that those employees, those new hires, fit better, stay longer, and are a better addition to the workforce. Yes?
So could you talk a little bit more about how to develop that contact? I have received that advice from others. I was told, well, you know, send a note through LinkedIn, da 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 da, and I got 0 responses to any of those, so
Right.
that just didn't seem very productive. Other people have said, okay, well then you check your contacts, who knows somebody who knows someone. I've tried that as well, and really, again, they got 0. So
Yeah, it's difficult. A lot of people get first of all, never send the default.
no, of course
Invitation.
not. I did.
A lot of people don't know that.
Mm.
So I am happy to connect with anyone who sends me a personal invitation
Yeah, no, that.
and tells me why they want to connect with me. But if they can't make that effort, then why should I make the effort to respond?
No, I understand that, and I
Yeah.
did was
Right.
more, you know,
So-
you pick something that you have in common, and, you know, again, I
Right.
just had that advice, but again, not, I mean, it's not a huge sample, but, you know, was just
It's
not
difficult.
getting anything, and,
I would not abandon that. I would still pursue that. I would look at the professional organizations that they belong to, because most people list their professional affiliations. See if there's a chapter of that in your local area. You know, it's seeking to find your birds of a feather for whatever you're interested in, and showing up in person is a lot easier than the remote. I agree. It is a kind of crapshoot when you reach out to somebody blindly in LinkedIn, and you're going to get a variety of responses from none to warm. See if you have something in common: college, university, place you've lived, company you've worked, or a competitor, you know, whatever, something to establish a connection. I know it's difficult. I know you've tried that. You got to keep at it. It is. We describe job searching as a marathon, not a sprint, and you have to have the patience to understand people are busy and they choose how to spend their time, and you're grateful when you do connect with someone and they spend time with you, either in person or virtually. Always send a thank you note by email. Thank them for their time, thank them for their interest, tell them what you really appreciated about the information they provided to you, and be grateful. Express your gratitude. It is a crapshoot.
I just said and send it quickly.
And send it quickly. Absolutely. Absolutely, Scott. Send it quickly. Send it immediately. If you're meeting in person, if they have the time, respect their time. Always don't go over. If they have more time to spend with you, ask it up, at the beginning, or maybe it's already been determined they have a half an hour to spend with you, or even just 15 minutes if it's virtual. Respect that time, don't go over. If they're enjoying the conversation and want to spend more time with you, let them make the decision, don't you make that decision. Okay? You're going to update and refine this list as you do research on these companies and find out more information from your networking and your research on the organizations. You're going to constantly refine that list. It is not cut in stone. It is should be constantly evolving. When you've made contact with someone at your target company, keep a record of all the contacts, all the follow-ups. Do it in Excel, do it in Word. There's a CRM for job search called Jibber. It's basic and it has a subscription fee that has more functionality, like all the free apps have now. Or use an Excel spreadsheet. Use something. Keep all the information, the name of the contact, the dates, the telephone number, their email address. You never know when you're going to come back. You've taken that company off your list. Maybe it's going to show up again because they've expanded or have a new contract or whatever it is. So don't discard that information. You track it as you're doing it, and you keep that information when you take that company off your list. Is that making sense? That's a treasure trove of information. You worked hard to get it. Don't throw it away. So these are resources. I live in Fairfax County. Yes.
Could I just go back to, excuse me, the specific product you mentioned, Jibber? Do you have any? The free version.
Mm-hmm.
Are you fairly familiar with it? Would you recommend
Yes,
that?
I recommend
one?
it.
Okay.
If somebody wants to do it virtually, do it in the cloud.
Right.
Use Jibber. The last time I checked, it was still a going concern. Subscriptions with more functionality.
Right.
Some people use index cards, some people use Excel, some people use Word tables, whatever works for you. But do keep track of it, because over the course of your job search, which hopefully isn't months, many months, but can be, you're going to forget those details. And unless you have them recorded, you're not going to have access to that information. Again, all this information is in the text version of the presentation I'll be sending. I recommend all of these if you're in Fairfax County or are willing to commute across the river. Fairfax County Economic Development Authority is the dean of business development organizations in the area. Every jurisdiction has one. So if you live in DC, check out just Google Economic Development Washington, DC, or your county, or your state. There are treasure troves. Fairfax County has a eBird that comes out twice a week, an email newsletter about businesses that are located or doing business in Fairfax County. It has information about events. It has contracts awarded if you're in the government contracting arena. And its website has lists of associations and profits in the county and what companies have appeared, Fairfax County companies have appeared in the Inc.'s fastest growing list and other kinds of things. It is amazing in terms of its information. The varying degree of comprehensiveness of other economic development authorities is on a continuum, but it's really good. Potomac Tech Wire, also an weekly or twice a week email about tech industry. I talked about the LinkedIn search keywords, and I'll show you how to do the LinkedIn search. Unfortunately, when Microsoft bought LinkedIn, the advanced search went away. It used to be you'd use multi-fields to do searches. That's gone. But they do have Boolean search methods, and I'll show you how to find that out. The Washington Business Journal's annual book of lists for the DC area. It's a large format kind of thing. Most reference desks have it. Subscribe to the Washington Business Journal. So it is a list of the top 100 private companies, top 100 public companies, top 100 legal firms, top 100 real estate firms, all those kinds of lists. Fastest growing. It's a really good source of information. The Post used to publish something analogous once a year, but that's kind of gone by the wayside, unfortunately. So here's how you do a search on LinkedIn. And again, this is in the PDF version that you'll be receiving. So you go to where your picture is. Hopefully everyone has a professional picture for their LinkedIn profile. You click the down arrow. You go to the Help Center. Oh, that's right, I have the little thing. The Help Center. The Help Center will take you here. How can we help you? You type in search operators, and you're going to get several different results that give you the search operators for LinkedIn and how to use them. Again, this will be, if you signed in, the registration, hopefully that's made its way or making its way around the table. You will receive this. So your marketing plan is the action plan. Your daily job search should include researching companies, building your network, reaching out to people, having coffee with them. Based on all the information you're gathering, refine your list of target companies. Develop at least one contact in each company. Conducting information interviews. Who here has not heard the term information interviews? Everyone knows what those are, right? You're seeking information, you're not seeking a job. The one thing about using the marketing plan when you're having your information interview, your coffee with someone or sending it ahead of time to someone you're having a virtual coffee with, is that it doesn't convey an unspoken expectation that that person's going to get you a job. When you send a resume, it does. Whether you intend to or not, it will convey an unspoken expectation. Plus what I said earlier about it being easy to digest for someone to understand exactly who you are, your skills, what you're looking for, the industry, the kinds of companies you're looking at. So it's really a thumbnail sketch of you, and it helps information interviews. I will be sending the Phil Snares. He's a volunteer at Career Network Ministry. He did a great presentation on information interviews, even including sample introductory language to use and some tips. It's really helpful, so I'll be sending that out as well. Collaborating with other job seekers mentioned earlier is really helpful. So other tools, we mentioned these, and that's it. Okay, so where are you showing up? So this is sort of a visual oxymoron. Not an oxymoron, it's
Non sequitur.
non sequitur, thank you. You don't see a sumo wrestler out on the ice in ice skates. You don't see Ford trucks being advertised at yacht races. You don't see Mercedes being advertised at rodeos. So it's all about placement. Your target market, who you're trying to appeal to, who you're trying to interact with, and to go to those places, seeking your birds of a feather. So resources for networking, all of these things, your college and university local alumni chapter, I really recommend that. Meetup groups, either the professional or the avocational. Everywhere you're going and meeting people, there's an opportunity to network. Do not tell yourself that if I'm out on a hike, I can't network, in a very low-key way. So pursue your avocations and your profession. The last thing, download your connections from LinkedIn, and in the Help Center you can find out how to do that. It's a two-step process. Because you can download it as a CSV, then open that up in Excel, and then you can sort, and you can look at all the companies, because since you last connected with someone, they've probably changed employers. And so you're thinking of them as working at company X, and now they're company Y. So it becomes a list of potential target companies or something to mine and look at. The other thing is that I heard from someone at CNN once that LinkedIn lost their contacts. All of a sudden they went to their LinkedIn profile and they didn't have any. And they had hundreds and hundreds. So if you download your LinkedIn contacts every 6 months or so, then you've got some place to start to go back and upload them. So I recommend that strongly. Okay, Link Tank. Link Tank used to be, and they're supposed to relaunch sometime this year. I checked them last night, they still haven't relaunched. But if you're in the public policy arena, Link Tank had a listing of events of think tanks and research institutes and NGOs covering everything from cybersecurity, data analytics, poverty, water shortage, I mean, the whole gamut of public policy, some of them related in the private sector as well. They haven't relaunched yet. I would check back. I think they said that their price is going to be $8 a month, but it lists all of these events, many of them are free, to go and network, and those are for your birds of feather. If you're in data analytics, you want to go to those kind of events. And the people who are attending those events have been given time off by their employers to attend. So they're employed and they know about job openings. It is a target-rich environment. So check back and see when they relaunched this year. They haven't relaunched yet. Eventbrite's, a lot of the events on Eventbrite are free for avocational and professional pursuits. We talked about this. At the end of any meeting with someone, ask them how you can help them. If you come across an article that you think they'd be interested in, a news story or a conference or something, you're building a relationship. Someone described networking as farming, not hunting. You're developing and nurturing and cultivating relationships. You're not going out and bagging a contact and bringing it back and doing nothing with it. So think about it as farming. Networking happens whenever you're with people. Share your plan with former colleagues. Let them know you're looking in your information interviewing with some of your go-to contacts. You want to share your plan if you meet with external recruiters and headhunters. And in a minute, it'll become clear why external, not internal. This is a favorite acronym of one of the other two folks who helped develop this presentation. Coworkers, organization, friends, family, everyone else. Okay, job boards. Why I'm not a fan of job boards. Career Builder, Monster, all those. A lot of jobs don't exist on them. They're there to solicit resumes. The less than purely ethical government contracting firms, some of them, will use your resume to win the contract, never tell you they used it, and never contact you for the position. Hard to believe, but that happens all the time. The large organizations also probably subscribe to a component of the applicant tracking systems, Taleo, and there's a couple others. And they ingest the resumes. They look at experience level, certifications, graduate degrees. They mine competitive intelligence from them, and they use them to benchmark salaries and also qualifications, required qualifications. So your information is actually being used against you in some ways. It is good for buzzwords, for job titles. HR people aren't HR people, they're talent acquisition managers. Okay, recruiters are talent, they're euphemisms now for all different kinds of job titles. So if you don't know the current job titles being used and the industry and professional buzzwords in your industry, you're going to appear dated, and you want to be up to speed on all of these things. So that's the good news about job boards, the good use of them, but you always want to connect and contact somebody in there, make an internal contact, look on the company's own website for the job positions. Useful for identifying companies who are hiring certain skills, positions, degrees. How do you match up? What are they looking for? Do you have the requisite certifications or degrees, and level of experience that they're looking for. Okay, so who really advertises on those that are real jobs? Well, a lot of companies, but particularly 8A firms. 8A is a designation of the Small Business Administration for disadvantaged groups, minority-owned, women-owned, veterans, other groups. They typically don't have a lot of people around. They don't have somebody who can devote their time for recruiting. Maybe the receptionist does it all, part-time, when she has time to do it. So they're real jobs. If you don't recognize the name of the company, Google it, find out if they're an AA. If they're an AA, it's pretty likely it's a real job. I actually got an interview and got a job offer from an AA firm located in McLean from a job board. So it does happen. Smaller job boards tend to be more targeted. The other person who helped develop this, the two other people who helped develop this workshop back in 2010, 2011, he found a job on Craigslist. He did all the other things, all the networking, everything else. He found a job on Craigslist. So don't count out any venue to find opportunities. It was an out-of-town, small boutique firm that had gotten a contract with the SEC. They needed a benefits and compensation HR person. They were located in Atlanta. And he did the interview with Skype, got the job, and it was all on Craigslist. And LinkedIn also had a job board for the NGO nonprofit think tank kind of industry, and hopefully we'll start that back up. So why not just use a resume? Marketing plan has a different focus, purpose, and audience. What's the purpose of your resume? Get the interview. Get your marketing brochure to a prospective employer, to a hiring manager. It's to get the interview. Marketing plan, just to get information. That's what you're seeking. Gathering information to become a more effective job seeker, to narrow your focus and target where you want to work. You're not applying blindly to a lot of companies. It has different content. It doesn't give the unspoken expectation and all the things that I talked about. So let's compare them. The only thing that's in common between these two columns is the very first bullet. Everything else is different between a resume and a marketing plan. So you're going to constantly refine, review your marketing plan. I really recommend you give it to somebody else to look at. John asked Jim to review his marketing plan, the two other people who helped develop this. And he got it back all marked up, and he was feeling pretty good when he gave it to Jim. He helped develop this presentation, he'd been doing it for a year and a half. Surely he knew what he was doing, right? He used all kinds of industry professional buzzwords that had no meaning to somebody outside of his field. So if your field involves that, have a generic one that a layperson can understand, any person on the street. Have one that's targeted to someone that you give who's in your profession. But don't mix the two. Reevaluate it. As you learn things, refine your marketing plan. It should evolve as your job search. Say your gathered information as said before. So let's go over a sample review. Now that I've talked a lot about the marketing plan. Any other questions?
I was going to ask for an example, but you're doing it.
We're doing it. The workbook that I'm going to send out in PDF form, at the very back has 4 sample marketing plans. One is the one I'm presenting, so you'll see it in print. And there's 2 others. And then the 4th one is a 1-page marketing networking brief that is an actual marketing plan of a volunteer at Career Network Ministry. He's a very experienced business development person. And it is a different format, but for the very experienced person, you might want to consider that format instead of the format we're going to go over. It's a personal choice. of which you want to use. So let's review the elements that we talked about before. Your name, city, state, don't put your street address. They can probably Google and find it, but you don't know where this is going to end up. So why give them your street address? Zip code, a contact telephone number should be your cell. You don't have to market cell. Most people realize that that's your cell. And a professional email address, not soccer mom or soccer dad, but a professional email address that has your name. Maybe there are lots of other people in Gmail with your name, so you have to add a number or something else to it. But a professional email address with your name. Some people set up an email address just for their job search, so that when they do apply to job boards and stuff, they're not bombarded afterwards with all kinds of emails that they don't care about. They just shut down that email address. Some people have found that useful. Okay, professional objective. Very short and sweet. Excuse me, project manager in IT systems development, product development. Pretty easy to understand. Preferred titles. Again, remember what I said about levels and what you really, whether the title's very important to you or the substance of the work. A positioning statement. This is your brand statement, your unique value proposition. Anyone here in software IT kind of thing? Okay. So you realize that developers don't really appreciate a project manager because they're breathing down their neck to get things done, to meet the deadlines, etc. So if you look at the last sentence on this, in a previous company, I was known as the engineer's favorite project manager. That speaks volumes about this person's emotional intelligence, interpersonal skills, the fact that he could develop these relationships where he was more than tolerated but actually appreciated by the software developers. It speaks volumes. So that's the kind of statement you want to be able to make about yourself. What sets you apart from every other person with similar background and experience? What's unique and different about you? That's what you want to express. And again, it should flow through all of your documents, your LinkedIn profile, your resume, your marketing plan. They're different in tone. A LinkedIn profile is different in tone than a resume or your marketing plan. Marketing plan is just straightforward, very direct. And you don't want it to be any longer than this. This is probably a little bit long, but not any longer. Your competencies. Doesn't have to be 3 columns. It can be 2, it can be 1. If you're a developer, it's maybe a list of the languages that you develop in or applications. But you want to group them under some general category of skills. So for him, he listed project management, problem anticipation, which is key in project management, meeting the schedule, which is, of course, one of the main things, adherence to a budget, contingency planning. You gotta plan for contingencies because everything can go wrong when you're in the software sphere. Your coaching, your strong client relationships. You have to be able to communicate what's going on with the project to the client out there. And the client's usually internal. Change management. Any development effort is going to change things. So you got to figure out that sometimes now they have a separate person or group of people who focus on change management. It helps prepare the organization for any changes coming that the rank and file are going to experience in using the new application or system. But sometimes that's done by the project manager. Employee development, problem resolution, stakeholder briefings, very key. Meeting facilitation, listening to stakeholders, clients, and team. That reminds me, I talked before we started about a book. If you happen to be an introvert, I recommend a book called Quiet. I forget the rest of the title.
By Susan Cain.
By Susan Cain. how to communicate or something when the rest of the world can't stop talking. Yes?
Finish that book, I have another book.
Okay. If you're an introvert, and I'm a native introvert, we have a different set of skills and approaches to things than extroverts do. And they're very valuable. Most great majority of CEOs and the successful salespeople are introverts because we listen. We don't talk, we listen. And then we talk when it's important. So the book really points out, it's very validating for introverts because it validates our skills and what we bring to the table. And it also is prescriptive and gives you some tactics, strategies for dealing with extroverts when they tend to dominate conversations and meetings. So I recommend it highly if you happen to be an introvert. So back. So
Could I mention the
yes,
other
your book.
Do you know Karen Wickery?
No, I don't.
She's a former Google, Facebook person out in the West Coast, and she also has a book called Introvert's Guide to Networking,
Oh, very good.
which is a very good book.
Okay. Introvert's Guide to Networking, and you
Yeah.
spell her last name?
Wickery, Wickre.
Okay.
The title may be slightly different, but if you put in her name, you'll see the book.
Okay. Wickrie.
Wickre, yes.
R-E.
R-E.
Okay. Great, thanks. And you had something?
Just a question about under competencies, where you have the three major groups up there. How do you determine that? Do you determine it from, or how do you?
Well, you've done your
identify?
self-assessment, you have your skills, right? You have your list of skills that you have, and then you figure out the categories that they fit under. Doesn't have to be 3, it could be 2.
I didn't know if you did that through going and looking at what within your swim lane, what people were looking for.
If that matches what your skills are, you have to possess these skills that you're putting on your marketing plan. They have to be some of your core competencies, what you bring to the table, and they can always count on you for. Okay, and then you group them under categories so that people can see, oh yeah, they're really good at project management. They have the skills. They're really good at general management. They're really good at communications, which is key for project managers. Okay, so you figure out what the general categories of skills are, and then put your specific skills under those. Could be 2. 3 isn't the.
But
just happens to be.
it's the marketing. You're marketing your
Yes.
throughout, and you're just grouping them into understandable
Exactly.
categories.
Exactly. So if somebody's looking for a project manager, they're going to want all of these things. They're going to want the whole kit and caboodle, because all those things are key to successful project managers. Yes, Ron?
I just want to use an example. If you're a project manager and you're looking for an IT, you might want to replace one of those columns with technical skills.
Right.
Because a lot of times that's what's important to the employer.
Right. If you, a lot of project managers have been developers before, and sometimes it's helpful to be able to speak that same language with developers. So if you are versant in different languages, underneath you could just list, languages, experience with, and that could help tip it for you if you're that, if the project manager has to be that technical. Depends on what kind of project management you're going for. I've done ERP implementations and data center moves. And I came up to speed on some technical things, and my team at the end of the project made me an honorary techie because of everything that I had learned in the course of the project. And I didn't have to be technical to do that particular project. And I had a few technical advisors who really would whisper in my ear about certain technical things. They needed somebody who really could project manage. So that's what I did. So your target market. Oops. So maybe you don't have a car and you need to be near a metro. Because you live near a metro and you're going to be near a metro at the other end. because Uber and Lyft can get really expensive. You're willing to venture across the river and go to Alexandria or Arlington or Fairfax, somebody close in that has good metro service. It's a trade-off. I know someone who lived in where did she live? She lived out between Herndon and Ashburn, and she commuted to Baltimore every day because it was a temporary job that would lead to a permanent job, and she was willing to do that on a 6-month basis to prove that she wanted to do that. And then she would move. She would move once it concluded, like she was willing to do it. Everyone has to make trade-offs with their personal time away from their home, loved ones there, bite the bullet and join the crowds on Metro or the hordes on the road. Industry type, again, this is going to be for project managers. If you're HR, maybe you're industry agnostic, doesn't matter. When there's industries you've worked before that you really enjoy, you can put them there. Company size. So what's a large company to you? How many employees? 1,000? Who defines large as more than 1,000? Okay. The point I'm making is don't put descriptive words, put number of employees. Some industries get ranked on annual revenue, not a number of employees. Whatever's relevant to what you are, but put size. And understand that company size really determines the company culture. A small company has a very different culture than large companies. If you've been in large companies, you know that they are much more structured, they have employee manuals, etc. Very small companies, really the culture is taken from the person at the top more than anything else.
Is that for where you've worked before or the kind you want to work for?
All the marketing plan is what you want to do. See, that's the other thing about the difference between a resume and a marketing plan. Marketing plan is forward focused. Resume says what you've done. So it's very different focus. Company culture. These are the kinds of questions you would ask when you're networking with persons who worked there. Is there a question in the back?
Yeah, do you share this with an employer or is this just for you?
No, you do not share it with the employers. Why wouldn't you want to share it with employers? Because it's got your target list of companies. When you go and talk to a hiring manager or even the HR person internally in a company, you want to convince them that that's the only place where you want to work. You're not going to tell them where else you're working. You take your resume, not your marketing plan. They already know if you're going to Booz Allen that you're also interviewing with Accenture and half a dozen other, Grant Thornton and all the rest. But you don't want to put that in their face because your job is to convince them that they're the perfect fit for you and that's where you want to be. The marketing plan is shared with external recruiters and headhunters and your networking folks, because it's the thumbnail sketch of who you are, what you want to do, where you want to work.
Would you recommend including that competency table on your resume? No, not really. No.
But you're going to highlight.
You're gonna highlight
those
that.
in your resume.
You're going to highlight that. A lot of the last time I was job hunting, the preferred structure of a resume was to group your SAR stories, your accomplishment stories, by skill. Have a couple headings of your key skills. So that's what you would do with a resume. I don't know what's out there now. I haven't looked for a job for a while. I'm looking for retirement, so I probably won't be doing this again. Maybe for a part-time job. So, target list of companies, how many are the right number? 20, 25? You're doing a lot of work for to vet each company and networking and information interviews and stuff. maybe 20, 25 is too many. Maybe you want to whittle it down to 10 and then down to 5 for focus. But not anymore. You just can't do all that you need to do for a large number of companies. You got to focus. So, but when you list these companies and you share the list of companies in your marketing plan with other people, it's not uncommon for them to say, oh, I know somebody who works there, or used to work there, or my cousin, or my brother-in-law, or my best friend, or whomever. So you're helping others help you by giving them some information. Yes?
So I'm a little confused about the advice that we share this marketing plan with people that we're networking with, and your previous advice, which is that when you're networking, you don't make it seem like you're looking for their help in finding a job. So by sharing marketing plan, you're telling them, I'm looking for a job and I need your help with this. So how do you
Do you know anybody
that?
who, do you know
So how do
anybody,
you square that circle?
well, do you know anybody who works at these companies? You're not asking for them to find you a job. You're asking for contact and information.
Okay. So then, so you're not, but I'm a little, again, confused because we're listing these companies and then you're saying you want to find people in these companies. So how we're doing that? I mean, we're talking to people who may or may not know someone at that. Just, I guess I don't
Well-
really follow how that all works out.
Well, your whole, the other pages of the other page of the marketing plan lays out who you are, what your skills are, what you're looking for.
Right.
Okay? So when you meet with someone, what you're wanting to find out is to have them talk about their job experience, there's a reason why you pick that person to connect with. And there should be a purpose, and you should have at least several questions already in mind of what you want to ask them about their previous experience. If you look on LinkedIn and you analyze their job experience, I would say that if you've done the analysis of what they said they've done and what they're about, half a dozen questions should pop in your mind of things you want to find out more about when you meet with that person. So let me finish. So then when you meet with that person, you give them the thumbnail sketch. Here are the companies I'm looking. Do you happen to know anybody who works at these companies that I could contact?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're asking for, is contact, information. Not looking for them to say, oh, I know a job there. Do you know anybody here? Here are the companies I'm targeting. They may give you a competitor to one of the companies on your list. Oh, I don't know anybody at X company, but I know somebody at Y company in the same field. Can I put you in touch with them? So that's what you're asking for, is contacts.
But in your introduction, and perhaps I misunderstood, so in your introduction to, hi, I'd like to meet with you, blah, blah, whatever, up front, are you saying I'm currently exploring job opportunities, or are you concealing that in your intro? Like, how do you start this whole thing? That's been my biggest challenge.
So the presentation I'm going to send you gives you some language for that, the Phil Snare presentation. But something along the lines of, I see that you have worked at such and such a company doing such and such a thing. We'd love to hear more about your experience there. If you would have, 15 minutes to speak with me.
Right.
Okay? So you were always asking for information. And you have to be curious about what their experience, what companies they worked at, or they made a transition from this to that. I'm really curious about how you manage that transition. Somebody who used to be a journalist and now is in business communication. Would love to hear more about, the challenges and how you overcame them in making the transition from this to that.
Without a because.
Pardon?
Without a because phrase. Because
Exactly.
I blah. It's
Exactly.
just, I'm interested,
Yes.
leave it up to their imagination
Exactly.
as to why you might be interested.
Right.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with them knowing that you're looking for work, just that you're not asking them for the job.
Right. They're probably going to figure out you're looking for a job, but a lot of people will step back because they think you want them to help you find the job when you're only seeking information. Right.
And then the next step, when you've got that contact within one of your target companies, what are you saying then?
You're saying somebody so-and-so referred me as, working in this company, would you willing to spend a little bit of time with me talking about your experience working at this company?
So
You know, what you've enjoyed, and, what career opportunities you've been able to have there.
So you would only contact someone in a company if you've got a referral. If you don't have a referral, then you're not contacting.
Well, you're contacting somebody in a company from LinkedIn as a cold call
So then
kind of
what do you
thing.
say at that?
What we just talked about.
Oh, I'm interested in you
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have some connection, some piece of information that you want from that person,
Mhm.
and you have to be specific, because otherwise it's just a generic, hi, let's talk.
Mhm.
You're not going to get much response from that.
Right.
But people typically like to talk about themselves. So if you ask them about, curious to learn more about, X, Y, Z, would you have some time kind of thing, a lot of people will respond to that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I haven't found that to be the case. So.
Well, you've been unfortunate, but maybe using some of the tips in Phil Sierra's presentation will be helpful to you. Yes.
I have just a style or strategy question. You mentioned on the marketing plan, like a particular area, and I think like an example you gave is like if you might be in HR, you might be agnostic as to which industry. So if you have, as we review these slides afterwards, and we're looking at these examples, if you're in a particular area, company size, etc., that for you is, I don't want to use the word irrelevant, but that's not quite what I'm saying, but
It's not that, it's not, is it material to you?
Yes.
Is it material?
Is it better to just leave that off? Or is it better to put it in there and then try to come up with some phrasing that says that? Because
Leave it off.
Okay, all right.
Leave it off.
Yep.
If you're agnostic to it, it doesn't matter to you, and you think that it's going to restrict the kind
Right.
of responses you're going to get, leave it off.
Okay.
Also, it could be true of company culture.
Right.
Some people react positively to that, some people react negatively, and what company says on the website ain't necessarily so. Yes?
Again, I would want to get some more clarity on what the audience is for the marketing plan. We came in a little bit late, but my sense was that there was a personal document that you might talk to friends and family about, but it wouldn't ever go public. But,
Why not?
well, I know, I want to give more definition on that. Now, not to employers, would you think you're posting it somehow on LinkedIn? No. Okay, so it would go only to a personal, like a recruiter or something like that. You mentioned external recruiter, headhunter.
If
Yeah.
they're a savvy recruiter, headhunter, they're going to appreciate that in addition to your resume.
So they're familiar with this idea.
Not everyone, no.
No.
I said if they're savvy.
Yeah. So that's about
when
as
you
public as you would go, is with a
Well,
headhunter.
when you sit down and have coffee, information interview, coffee with
Yeah.
someone. If you have a virtual coffee with someone and send it ahead of time, this might be helpful in narrowing, letting you know what I'm looking for.
So an informational interview in a particular company that you want to work in, you would still share that marketing
Or
plan?
networking contact.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, when you're making contact with somebody within a company, again, it's almost like talking to HR or
Right,
headhunters, so
that's resume only.
you would not share this, or
Marketing
you
plan.
would share this part of it, make a version of the marketing plan without target companies, to give them just a thumbnail sketch of you in addition to your resume.
Mhm.
But remember, when you're talking to somebody within a particular company, that's the only company you want to work for. So you're talking to them about, what it's like to work there, how, you can
Right.
see from their LinkedIn profile how long they've been employed. What kind of transitions has this company made? How is communication? How is information shared in this company? Is it top down? Does management listen? How does, all those kinds of things.
That's totally aside from your marketing plan. That's getting information about that particular company. only.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, because you want to know that that company is a fit for you. Once you get in the interview, if you've been invited for an in-person interview, they pretty much have determined that you have the skills. They might touch on that. They might, if you're in a highly technical area, they might have some subject matter expert, kind of confirm your resume and confirm what the phone interview screening did. But basically, they're trying to, do I want to be across this person and across a conference table in the meetings with this person? Do I want to go out to lunch with this person? Do I want to have group discussions with this person? They're looking for cultural fit. Are you going to fit in their company? That's a lot of what the interviewing process is. Not all, but a lot. So you want some information beforehand so that you are aware and well armed as to what that company is all about before you step foot in it. And then you can make the determination. Sometimes ask, can I talk to some other people? A lot of times the interviews with a hiring manager or something, you never get to see your potential coworkers until after you show up the first day. And sometimes it's a rude awakening. So you want to get as much information as you can beforehand. So then you confirm and validate once you're inside the door. So let me finish up real quick. I'm about out of time. So if you've signed that form that's gone around, I hope it's gone around. Has everyone seen it and signed in? Okay. And it landed where?
Right here.
Okay, great. So if you print it, and I can understand your email address, you will get this. But I suggest that you take down my email address, because if you haven't heard from me within a week, something went wrong with me being able to decipher your email address. And you can always email me and say, hey, haven't heard from you, can you please send? So you're going to get the text version of this presentation without all the graphics. You're going to get the workbook, the email template to use for marketing plan and Phil Sneer's interview, probably in two separate emails, part 1, part 2, so it doesn't exceed the amount of attachment size that your email provider will accept. I'll stick around if you have questions after this. So thank you very much for coming, and good luck on your job search.